Welcome to the Dream Show. I'm Jane Teresa Anderson, and this is episode 232. And for today's episode, we're going to take a slight pause in our usual format. As most of you know, our usual format is to have a guest on the show, having a dream interpreted, and comparing that dream to what's happening in their life. But today I want to read an extract from my new book, Bird of Paradise, as well as tell you some other stories. So here we go, but I guess before we start I should mention my websites. My websites are janeteresa.com, that's Teresa without an H, and my online learning platform, the Dream Academy, and the address there is dream-academy-online.com. Those are the places you go to listen to episodes of The Dream Show, to read my blogs, to find out about my consultation services, buy my books, do courses. But right today, I'm going to start by reading a blog that I wrote in March 2020 this year. So before I go there, just have a think, where were you in March 2020 this year? I think 2020 being what it has turned out to be, we probably all will always remember where we were in various months during 2020, but I just want to put that date stamp on some of the stories that I'm telling you today so that you can relate. And in this first blog, although I wrote it in March 2020 for janeteresa.com blog, I actually am referring back to a story on January the 15th. So once again, have a think back to where you were on January 15, 2020, and you'll have all this in context. So this is the blog that I wrote in March 2020 called Blackbird Calling, a Synchronicity Story. A little blackbird flew into our house on January 15 this year, 2020, and settled next to my nest of Orkney eggs, heralding both a synchronicity and a decision. Birds flying into our house are not a common occurrence. Thinking back over a lifetime, I can only recall one other blackbird flying in, one dove walking in around 1996, and a bush turkey wandering in around 1995. So this little blackbird really drew my attention, as did its placement next to my nest, as did the date. Stay with me and all will be revealed. When I was about 6, a very exotic bird landed on the washing line in our English back garden. As a young child, I was utterly transfixed. This colourful bird looked like nothing like the generally black and brown birds of our neighbourhood. As Dad and I got closer, I realised it was a budgerigar, which is a bit like a parakeet. And budgies, in my English world, did not live in the wild. They were pets, kept in cages, and like parrots, they could mimic human voices, often building up quite a vocabulary of entertaining chatter. Our exotic visitor ended up in a cage in our living room, a fixture in our home for many years to come. I was never sure whether to feel happy for him, safe and warm in our house, or sad for him, locked in a cage, chatting to all of us and to his mate, his reflection in his mirror. There's much more to the budgerigar story, a tale I tell at the beginning of my new book, Bird of Paradise, which will be published later this year. As you will have noted, there's a bird in the title of my new book. Bird of Paradise is also a flower and a yoga pose, all of which is meaningful, as you'll discover when you read the book. I'll tell you more about the book later, but suffice to say it's about dreams, synchronicities, navigating life, and discovering your calling. In January this year, a week before the blackbird flew into our house, the final edit was completed. The book was ready for its next stage. Since all but one of my past books have been published by traditional publishers, I started along the known route. The day before the blackbird flew into our house, I sent out emails to potential literary agents in the United States. My first thought when I saw the blackbird was a sense of coming full circle. Blackbirds are not native to Australia. They are an introduced species and only thrive in the more temperate Australian states, not in the tropics or subtropics. When we moved from the subtropics to temperate Hobart just over a year ago, I was delighted to discover English blackbirds singing in our back garden. Budgerigars are native to Australia, while in England they only thrive in cages in people's homes. My book began with an Australian non-native bird flying into our English life, and my book's completion was marked by an English non-native bird flying into our Australian home. Now, it's too late to add a final chapter about this little blackbird to the book, but isn't that what blogs such as this one are for, to continue enriching the tale? I've written about my nest of Orkney eggs before. They're stones I collected from a beach in the Orkney Islands of Scotland some 40 years ago, nestled into an Orkney basket, a traditional island weave. That story and its many resonances and synchronicities weaves throughout my new book. So the fact that the little blackbird chose to land by my nest was highly significant to me, though perhaps for the blackbird it had some vague resemblance to a nest, to home, to safety. Clearly the bird was trapped. It didn't know how to fly free from our room. We helped set it free, and it flew up and away. I had the feeling that my book, Bird of Paradise, needed to be set free to fly up and away. Over the next few weeks, I noticed how much longer the traditional publishing route seems to have become. Agents and publishers these days are more focused on the size of an author's social media platform and expect the author to bring their own marketing expertise to the publishing table. The more I looked at this, the more I realized I had that expertise, my own and professional people I can engage, to publish the book myself, to free it to fly out into the world about a year earlier than it would otherwise take, and to have more creative control of the process. So that's what I decided to do. As I sat down today to write this blog in March 2020, I Googled to check my facts about blackbirds. One thing that jumped out at me, a fact I didn't know, was that the 4 calling birds in the 12 Days of Christmas were, in the earliest version of the song, 4 collie birds. Collie meaning the colour of coal and being the English archaic name for blackbird. By January 15, the 12 Days of Christmas were done and dusted, but did my little calling bird call in to underline my calling? To free this new book about dreams, synchronicities, navigating life, and discovering your calling? So you did notice all that calling, right? There's so much more richness to this synchronicity, but this blog-sized chunk is where I'll stop for now. I hope I've whetted your appetite for Bird of Paradise 2. Watch this space. And if you want to see a picture of the bird nestled against my nest of Orkney eggs, go to janeteresa.com, to the blog roll, to March 2020, and you'll see on the blog the picture of the little blackbird sitting next to the Orkney eggs, trapped in the house before we let it fly free. Lovely little messenger. Between the blackbird flying into our room in January and writing of the blog in March, the COVID pandemic had begun to creep and then explode around the world. My book, it seemed, was now destined to be published during lockdown. Perhaps perfect timing for a book about finding your way during times of uncertainty. So I'm going to read the introduction for the book, but first it feels appropriate to bring you another blog called A Better World. This was a blog I wrote for the Dream Academy last month in June 2020. A Better World. 2 weeks ago, I was sitting here at my desk writing when I noticed billowing smoke outside my window. Seconds later, flames burst from the abandoned house 2 doors down. A neighbour was already outside calling emergency services, and within minutes 3 fire engines had arrived. No one was hurt, but the already dilapidated house was a goner. The view from my window had changed in a single afternoon. Although the house had been left to ruin, the old, corrugated, somewhat rusted roof and brick chimney rising above my immediate neighbour's home had formed an attractive eye line. After the fire, the chimney remained, but the roof was black, ripped, and curling. Yesterday, as I was sitting here at my desk preparing to do a phone dream therapy session with a client, a bright yellow dinosaur hovered into view, grunting and grating as it gyrated its massive steel jaw from side to side. The giant bulldozer had arrived to demolish the remains of the house. Bite by huge bite, it chomped through the fragile remains of the roof. Nudge by nudge, it toppled the brick chimney. So today, as I sit here to write this blog, my view has changed yet again. I can hear the mechanical rumblings and grumblings of the fallen debris being cleared from the site, but my eye line now extends to a more distant horizon, and I wonder how the view will change again in coming weeks and months. Will the land remain vacant, or will a new structure rise in place of the old and dilapidated? How suddenly things can change. Old, tenacious structures toppled, space for new possibilities opened up. And how swiftly our views can change too. As I sit here at my desk in late June 2020, we are still in the midst of a global pandemic. Here in Tasmania, we are currently fortunate to have had no new COVID-19 cases for 40 days, though we are still officially in a state of emergency and with our borders closed to other Australian states as well as internationally. Elsewhere in the world, and possibly where you live, the picture is far more dire. Take a long look at the yacht sailing in, I had said to my young grandchildren on New Year's Eve as we watched the last of the boats in the Sydney to Hobart yacht race edge into safe harbour. Remember this moment, the last day of 2019. Tomorrow is not only a new year, but a whole new decade. I wonder what amazing changes the 2020s will bring, I said. Little did we know. After the pandemic, for surely there will be an after the pandemic, what changes will the 2020s bring? We are already witnessing social, economic, political, and environmental change, and as dilapidated structures topple, how can we tap into our dreams to help build a better world? One function of dreaming is creative problem solving. When you take a problem to bed and sleep on it, morning light can sometimes deliver surprising results, whether or not you remember your dreams. Your dreams are unlikely to offer ideas in a straightforward, literal fashion, but if you read between the lines, you may be inspired to take action in the world. Ideas may include new ways of connecting with and supporting community, projects to help shift global vision, practical steps around promoting new paradigms, and eureka moments in science and innovation. Far more urgently, dreams help us to know ourselves more deeply, to identify our unconscious and sometimes darker views about the world and our place in it. It's our unconscious views and mindset that can drive the way we live and take action in the world. If you want to see a better world arise, explore the dreams you are gifted each morning to discover what needs to change within you to support the kind of positive change you would like to see in the world. Discover your limited thinking, your blind spots, your deeply rooted prejudices, as well as your deeply buried talents and magnificent potential. When you rebuild from the inside, everything changes. A few days before writing this blog, I dreamed that 2 tortoises lived in a small box ever since the day they were born. The box was their whole world. They knew no other life. They were happy, yet knew that they were about to die. But I, standing outside their box, knew that they were about to pass from the tiny box world into the vastly bigger and better world where I stood. Not a death, but a birth, I told the person standing next to me. Although the dream is about me and my inner world, it also offers a universal promise of a better world and inspired my choice of the mythological world turtle or world tortoise image that I've used for this blog's header. The many layered gifts of dreaming. So if you'd like to see that picture that I chose for that blog, go to the Dream Academy at dream-academy-online.com and go to the blog June 2020 for a better world. Those of you that don't know about the mythological world turtle, I'll give you the short version, but there's a much bigger version that I'm sure you can Google. The world turtle is basically the animal that carries the world on its back. The world is a giant turtle or a tortoise. You can go find out more. So I promised an extract from my book, and I think what I'll do first, my book is called Bird of Paradise, and the subtitle on the front cover is Taming the Unconscious to Bring Your Dreams to Fruition. And I think what I'll do first is read you the book blurb. That's the writing on the back cover of the book. And then I'm going to read you the introduction, which is called Garden of Dreams. So first of all, this is from the back cover. It gives you an overview of what the book is about. This inspirational guide to finding your calling and navigating your life using dreams, mysteries, and alchemy draws on Jane Teresa Anderson's life and work as a dream analyst and author, scientist, and mystic. This is a story strewn with flowers that bloom, trees that shelter, and birds that sing, all of which are touchstones to guide you on your path. Part whimsical memoir, part healing balm, and part alchemical guide, Bird of Paradise delivers Jane Teresa's down-to-earth tools and techniques for decoding dreams and synchronicities, and offers up her unique signature alchemy practices that enable you to flow and grow with life's challenges, paradoxes, and mysteries. Jane Teresa's work is largely based on her own research and practice of more than 27 years. As such, she has been privileged to spend much of her professional life engaged in exploring her clients' dreams and witnessing the breakthroughs that quite magically occur as a result. When Jane Teresa hasn't been working with clients, she's been writing about dreams and dreaming, speaking about dreams and dreaming in the media, training students to work with dreams, and at night, dreaming her own dreams. She says, "There's a certain magic that comes from spending so much of a life in dreams. Your eyes acclimate to seeing beyond the everyday, and you experience quite astounding synchronicities and mysterious goings-on. You witness a greater tapestry that's woven from the threads of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Immerse yourself in that magic now and learn how to see behind the curtain of ordinary consensus reality. In so doing, your world will become infinitely richer and you will become more aligned with your own unique calling on the road of life." So that's from the back cover. And now I'm going to read you the introduction to the book, which I called Garden of Dreams. Garden of Dreams. This book that you have before you is part whimsical memoir, part healing balm, and part alchemical guide to navigating your human journey by observing some of the deeper mysteries of the human experience. It aims, in a larger sense, to be an inspiration to you, to be used in ways that will enrich your life. Bird of Paradise is made up of stories I've wanted to share for a long time, stories whose time to be given a wider audience has now come. But they're not individual stories, and this is not one of those dip in and read books, although I know you'll be tempted to do just that. Accompany me from the beginning, where appropriately enough we begin with a story called The Seed, and progress all the way through to the final chapter, Shavasana. I am a dream analyst and dream therapist whose work is largely based on my own research and practice of more than 27 years. As such, I have been privileged to spend much of my professional life engaged in exploring my clients' dreams and witnessing their breakthroughs as they quite magically bloom and grow in their amazing lives. When I haven't been working with clients, I've been writing about dreams and dreaming, speaking about dreams and dreaming in the media, training students to work with dreams, and at night dreaming my own dreams. When I look back over my life so far, I see a path of dreams. I think of my early childhood, and there it is, my dream of snakes nesting at the foot of my bed. I think of being 6 or 7, and there it is, in full colour and vivid heart-pounding emotion. My dream of being a shepherd boy encountering a pack of wolves gazing down at me from a mountain ridge with ominous intensity. I think of being 9 or 10, and there it is, the plane flying at such a sharp incline that it flips over backwards and explodes in the sky. I think of being 13, and there it is once more, a dream of my grandfather, a couple of days after his death, riding a motorbike into my dream and casually asking me if there's anything I'd like to know before he rides off again. As a child, I was curious. Were these dreams a parallel reality? Did they offer glimpses into a more distant past, perhaps a past life? Or were they predictions of future accidents, or glimpses into the spirit world? As a child, I was entranced by the magic of dreams, and always welcomed the promise of the nightly adventures that sleep would bring, even the scary ones. As my dreams became increasingly surreal, I began to understand that they were rather more like energy pictures depicting my emotions and interactions with the world. Yet they were also larger than life, as if they offered a glimpse of a bigger and deeper part of myself and the nature of life than I could grasp while awake. I can mark out my life in dreams as if turning the pages of a photo album. Most key events and turning points of my life were preceded or accompanied by vivid dreams, and I know the same will hold true in the years to come. It's not that my dreams predicted my future. Like all dreams, they connected or reconnected me with the deepest parts of my being. When I learned how to understand my dreams, I learned how to understand myself and my life, and how to use those insights to make powerful changes when that's what was called for. These are the blessings that dreams bestow, and since every one of us dreams about 5 dreams a night, whether or not we remember them, on a regular basis they are universal gifts available to each and every one of us. To accept these gifts, we need to learn and practice the art and science of reading dreams, and allow the insights they bring to bestow the blessings that they hold. There's a certain magic that comes from spending so much of a life in dreams. Your eyes acclimate to seeing beyond the everyday, and you experience quite astounding synchronicities and mysterious goings-on. You witness a greater tapestry that's woven from the threads of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Among the vignettes contained herein, you'll find tips and techniques to help you understand your dreams. That said, however, dreams are not the main subject of this book. They are markers on the path, inspiring you to look and discover the big picture of your life's purpose. The entire book is a story strewn with flowers, trees, and birds that bloom, shelter, and sing a direction for the reader to follow. You may have noticed that most of the chapter titles refer to flowers. The book also contains a subtle through line, one I have gently nurtured to build your understanding of the mysteries of the psyche as you turn its pages. Read slowly, read quickly, read and pause, read and ponder, but stay with the flow page by page and begin at the very beginning. As this book wrote itself into being, I realized I had a cache of stories that had accumulated in various blogs I'd written over the years. So I gathered these together and wove them in. Most are slightly updated with the wisdom of hindsight or reworked to fit the style of this book. So if you're reading and thinking, I know this story from somewhere, well, now you know. As regards the book's title, there is such a creature as a bird of paradise, but that is not the bird of my story. My bird of paradise appears in several guises throughout these pages. You'll first meet him as Joey the budgie in The Seed, and you'll last meet her, yes her, in this book as a constellation of light in the epilogue. In the pages in between, you'll also encounter the bird of paradise flower and the bird of paradise yoga pose. Once you finish reading, I imagine that the bird of paradise will cross your path in many forms, shedding a feather here or there, or a petal or two, or challenging you to yoga extend your limbs to fully embody her true nature. Or you will simply hear her calling to you in what may be some other mysterious, enigmatic way. So let's begin. Don't think too hard and certainly don't analyze as you go. Just immerse yourself and read. So that's the end of reading the extract from Bird of Paradise. So obviously, unless you've already got the book, you know what your next step is, don't you? Go and buy the book. Where to buy it? You can buy it from all the possible places you can already imagine. As well as being a paperback, it does exist in digital form. So if you prefer to read your books in ebook format, go to Amazon, Kindle, go to Barnes & Noble, Nook Books, go to where you would normally find an ebook and you'll probably find it there. Definitely find it at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And the paperback book too, you can get it from all the usual online places, Amazon, Book Depository, etc. You can ask for it at your local bookshop. Maybe, who knows, maybe the quickest way is to get it from me. So if you go to my website at janeteresa.com and go to books and go to Bird of Paradise, you can buy it through me, free shipping wherever you are in the world. And yes, if you live in the States, I get it sent out from the States. If you live in the UK, I get it sent out from the UK. If you live in Europe, I get it sent out from Europe. If you live in Australia, I get it sent out from Australia. So you don't have to worry about the time taken for international flights, of which there aren't too many at the moment. I really hope that you'll buy my book. If you're a long-time listener of the Dream Show, the book will take you deeper and it will provide, through the whimsical memoir aspects of the book, a little bit more insight into me and my life, which I think you'll enjoy and I hope that you'll find inspiring. Books get read by word of mouth. So all the publicity you can do, all the marketing you can do, it comes down to buying the book and reading it. And if you enjoy it, leave a review on Amazon, leave a review on Goodreads, leave a review wherever. But better than all of that, if you enjoy it, buy it for someone else or tell other people to go and buy it, because bit by bit, that's how books spread around the world. I'd love you to read my book. Thank you for listening to yet another episode of The Dream Show. A reminder of my websites again, janeteresa.com, where you can go to read hundreds of blogs. You can go to buy my book. You can go to listen to every episode of The Dream Show that's ever been. That's now 232 episodes. And you can also consult me, go to consultations and find out the different ways in which you can consult me about a dream if that's what you'd like to do. And just at the sake of repeating myself, it's also where you can go to buy my book. Or go to the Dream Academy, which is my online learning platform at dream-academy-online.com, where you can enroll in courses and you do them at your own pace, in your own time. There's videos of me talking to you, there's things to download. It's very popular. I think if you haven't been there yet, go and sign up a course. But at the risk of repeating myself yet again, please go and buy my book. Books sell by word of mouth, and that begins by buying the book, reading it, and if you enjoy it, talking about it. Thank you for that, and thank you for listening to yet another episode of The Dream Show. If you'd like to be a guest on The Dream Show and bring a dream for interpretation, go to janeteresa.com, go to The Dream Show, and you'll find a link to contact me on a form to be a guest on The Dream Show. The next episode of The Dream Show, episode 233, will come out on the 13th of August 2020. Have a wonderful month. I'm Jane Teresa Anderson.